Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne. I want to go through a few more maintenance tips this week because things got away from me. It's the first part of June. These are chores I should have done in March and April. First off, I want to show you this big leaf or macrophylla type hydrangea, things like Endless Summer, Bloomstruck, Summer Crush. Notice that there's still some dead sticks on here. So I want to go down to where the foliage is green and the leaves are coming out, and I want to remove these dead stems. Notice on this one, some of the buds are already forming. So I don't want to cut this whole branch off because I'm going to cut off any chance of blooming. All I can do at this point now is cut off the dead that's still remaining. I've got to leave it at this height. But again, these are my blooms that are coming on very, very shortly. Let me go by the oak leaf hydrangea. Once again, I simply want to remove any dead that's on this plant. If I take off and try to reduce the size right now, I'm going to get rid of any chance of blooming that you'll get for the springtime. When it comes to bulbs, the bulbs are finished blooming. I'm going to talk a little bit about daffodils. We need another 2 to 3 weeks before this foliage turns completely brown. Notice it's still very green, but I want to show you the tip right now, even though I would still wait at least 2 to 3 weeks till this foliage is turning brown. For daffodils, I simply gather the foliage together. I take a razor blade knife, very sharp, and I cut just a few inches above the ground, making the work very fast and very efficient. But again, let's wait it out another 2 to 3 weeks before the time to remove that old foliage. Notice I'm getting a little deer damage. This looks like I've pruned it, but I actually have not. The deer pruned it for me. So I love to use things like liquid fence right now to deter the deer. I simply spray this plant. I will do it about every 1 to 2 weeks to get them out of the habit of munching on some of my hydrangeas. You see this is sedge grass all through here, so we just got a recent rain. You want to be able to identify what is a weed and what's actually your plant. So in this case, this is actually a grassy weed versus the sedge plant. So I'll take my trusty soil knife and I will actually go in here, I'll find some of the roots, and we're going to remove any types of weeds mechanically and get rid of this stuff so it doesn't spread, it doesn't seed throughout the bed. As I go through this bed too, I've got some of the panicle hydrangeas. Notice on these panicle hydrangeas, they're actually starting to form buds. Again, if I'm to reduce this size, I'm going to remove all the flower buds. So I'll take my Falcos and I'm going to actually get rid of a lot of the old panicles that were still here, because again, when the plant flowers, this is just going to look very nasty. If I cut this back too far, again, I'm removing flowers. So about the only thing I can do right now is clean this up. In fact, in March, I should have probably reduced this whole plant size by about 1/3, but because I've waited too long, I'm going to let it go this year. I'll cut it back more heavily next March. So thank you for joining Wednesdays with Wayne, sponsored by Niemeyer's Landscape Supply. And remember, beautiful landscapes start here.